Hi, and welcome back to the Copycat Stitch podcast. I'm Bailey. This is Annie, who is most annoying and most endearing. And, we live with her. She's always in my business when I'm trying to record a podcast, but she's just so affectionate. So I've got a bunch of things to talk about. Let me start off with my standard I didn't mean to leave it this long speech. This time I think I have a fair excuse. My husband suffered a pretty severe injury and is out of work for a period of time. And also I got sick at the same time. So for the last month, I've had an unprecedented amount of housework to do in addition to caring for everyone in the house. And as you can imagine, my energy levels struggled a little, especially being sick for the first couple weeks of it. So I say this not by way of apology. I know I'm not beholden to YouTube and to keeping to a schedule, especially under weird circumstances, but because my knitting habits changed a lot because of this. Not least because in the beginning, I was really hyper-focusing on my husband's birthday sweater. And the first and most obvious change is that he can't wear it anyway now because he hurt himself and he has no need to wear a sweater because he's not leaving the house. But also, it's kind of too warm. We knew this was going to happen. His birthday's at the end of March. I'm always tempted to make him a birthday sweater because I start thinking about it in February when sweater knitting is fun. And then by the time his birthday actually rolls around, it's like, why would I make a sweater? Anyway, I'll show it to you. I don't think it looks all that different than last time because the top was already done, the sleeves were already done, and I'm just knitting the trunk of the body now, and that cable pattern hasn't really changed much. But that was the most obvious change, is that I kind of just shifted off that pattern because, I didn't have a deadline anymore, really, but also kind of made me sad because he wasn't going to be able to try it on at the end. So he'll be able to in a little while. Anyway. He's on the mend. Don't worry about it. I don't mean to be fishing for sympathy or anything. That's what happened. That's where I've been, and we're working through it. But it also shifted my crafting because I was a little less patient. I worked on a couple projects a bunch intermittently, especially at first in the hospital, but I kind of got bored of them. I kind of got discouraged. And because I had such severely low energy for the first couple weeks, I kind of shifted on to crochet. I always have the urge to start crocheting in the springtime. To me, crochet is a warm weather craft. Obviously, you can make cold weather things with crochet. You can make warm weather things with knitting. But crochet is so quick and gratifying, and also is so conducive to lacy patterns and open fabrics and things like that, that once it starts warming up, I always start to gravitate back towards crochet, and I want that quick, instant gratification of a crochet project as opposed to a knitting project. And I also have a few thrift finds and things to show you. So I guess we can get into it. A lot of it is, remember this thing from a month ago? It hasn't changed that much, but there are a couple new things. I did a couple crochet projects start to finish, and I think I have one new knitting cast on. All right, so first let's just look at the sweater really quick, because this is my husband's birthday sweater that I'm making out of Lion Brand Fisherman's wool. Like I said, it hasn't changed all that much. The trunk is longer. It definitely was a lot shorter last time. It's maybe 6 or 7 inches longer now, but a lot more to go, as pretty standard for men's garments to be quite long, as they tend to not like cropped garments as much. Like I said, I'm kind of pausing on this. I don't want to leave it all summer, but I also don't anticipate myself gravitating towards it. We are supposed to have another stint of cold weather and snow next week, in the second week of April. That's the Northeast for you. So maybe I'll feel like it then. But I'm not pushing myself to do it now because, like I said, my deadline's gone. He's not going to be able to use it until fall anyway. And honestly, it's not as fun as it was. All right, so this is another one that's just remember this thing? It's a little bigger now. This Boneyard Shawl that I'm working on. Oh, my project bag just rolled away. Okay, my Boneyard Shawl. So It's really hard to show you. It's all scrunched up on these circulars. But this is just after one skein of yarn. The pattern, stop it. The pattern is only for one skein of yarn. I have 2 cakes of this. I've discussed it several times in previous podcasts, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. But I have 2 cakes of it, and I really wanted a very large, lightweight shawl. So I thought, I'm just going to keep going. You know, I got to the end. I wonder if I could see it. Here's my tails. It's back like 3 or 4 rows. So this is barely more than 1 full skein of yarn. So this is the size that it would be if I only used the 1 skein. But because it's this like color shifting yarn, I reached into the center and I kind of just pulled out a great big chunk, and I unwound until I got to a point that was basically the same color combination that I was on at the end of the last skein. And this is the whole middle of the cake that I pulled out and cut off, and I started kind of in the middle. I have a feeling I'm just not going to use this. This will end up, actually this is a superwash blend, so this will probably go into that granny stripe blanket that I'm making, because it is a fingering weight superwash. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, it'll end up being 1.5 to like 1 2/3 skeins. And that's a slow burn. It's a very mindless project. I did kind of get burnt out on it. The texture of it, it's not a very warm weather knit. It's a little scratchy. It's very woolly and wintry. And there have just been days when I can't be bothered to work on that. So I did pull out this project from last year, which has kind of taken over as my stockinette mindless project for now. This is a moonset tee. Does it look familiar? It's because I'm wearing my first moonset tee that I made. I made this 2 years ago, I think. And I started this one last summer, and I got through most of it last summer using this Hobie cotton, like a value pack that they had online at one point. I think the drape is going to be so nice. I really love the weight of this. This one is an acrylic cotton blend, I think, so it's much lighter, and I think that the weight of the cotton is going to make this version drape a lot better when it's done. But again, it's a fingering weight knit, and it's just taken a long time, and you knit this one for a good long time. Audrey's come in to join us. Oh goodness. Okay, you knit this one for a really long time after you join in the round. So I think you go for like 12 inches. You can see what I have here. It's maybe 8 or 9 inches. So, and you do want it to go a good long ways, because even if it's longer than you want to wear it, I've learned. I don't know if you can see. Oh, knocked over all my stuff here. Like, forgive my sweatpants, but the hem rolls up quite a bit. There's an I-cord bind off here, but the hem does roll a bit. So you want it to have a little extra length beyond where you want it to actually hit, because it could roll up. I don't know that this cotton is going to roll up as much, but it won't hurt if it's a little longer. I think that would be nice to have. I have a lot of knitwear that I've made that's like maybe a little too cropped because I got a little impatient when I was working on it. So it can only be a good thing to make it a little longer. All right. Sorry, I'm kind of flying through these. I'm out of practice. I'm a little rusty, and also I'm tired. And I want to film a podcast, and I don't like the feeling of everything is piling up, and I've got all these projects to talk about, and I need to keep it set aside so I can talk about it on the podcast. But also, I don't have it in me to give a full talk about every single item. So I'm saving my energy for the new things, because I know I've talked about all of these projects before many times. And if you're really, really interested, you can go back and watch past episodes. So this is my last old whip that you've seen before, but it has had a fair amount of progress. It's my Fungus cardigan. And last time you saw, I was still working on the body. I love it. What I did since you've last seen it is I knit the button bands, which are so good. This yarn has such good stitch definition on these like ribbing. I'm so surprised. This is held single. This is a cone I got from a thrift store, and I later identified it as a product, I think, from Valley Yarns. a discontinued product. So I'm using a single strand of it, but it's really, really very fluffy. It contains mohair, I think, obviously. So this pattern is written for like a fingering plus mohair, but I'm just holding this single, and it's making a really fine fabric, but it's so fluffy that the mohair really fills it in. It's quite scrunched. I think this will relax a lot with blocking, and so will these shoulders. It's got this fun shoulder detail with this little sort of knit stripe that goes down to the sleeve, and that is very smooshed. I think like some length to that will do a lot, and blocking will definitely help with that. But I do love how crisp this ribbing looks in this yarn. It's so fun. And I found these little buttons. They're a set that I just had in my collection of vintage buttons on a button card. They are just plastic shank buttons, but they're this deep shade of brown that I thought went pretty well with this sort of brown rust marbly color. I don't know what to call it. These have bracelet length sleeves. So this is the full sleeve. I'm on the ribbing. It's really hard to see in the stitch pattern, but I do have a couple rounds of ribbing here, and I'm thinking that they'll grow with blocking. So I'm finding it really hard to gauge when I should stop knitting. I know that some people block mid-project to see that kind of thing. I don't have the patience or the space for that. When I have to block something, it takes up my whole dining room table, and I don't want to have to do it twice. I'm not interested in mid-project blocking. So I'm just gonna chance it. Because they're supposed to be kind of short sleeves anyway, bracelet length, it's not gonna be the end of the world if it's a little shorter than normal. I do have longer arms than average, so I did do it a couple inches past where the pattern says to, but it's still kind of in this gray area where it might not grow enough to kind of hit at the same point that it does on the sample photo. But I'm not super concerned about it, and I'm very pleased with the amount of yarn I have left. I don't feel like I'm playing yarn chicken, which I thought might be a concern because the amount that it says is in that cone, and I've got it secondhand, so I don't know if it's the full amount that was originally in the cone, is the exact amount that it says you need in the pattern, but I think I'm doing pretty well. And even though I've made everything exactly to pattern for my size, I don't think I'm running out of yarn, and I should have some left over. A nice little cushion. To tell you about see, I kind of did this out of order. I do have finished objects, but they're all new. I don't know why I jumped in talking about, see, I told you I'm rusty, whatever. Throw this standard knitting podcast format to the wind. I'm gonna do what I want. So in order to tell you about my next little finished object, I gotta tell you about my thrift find, because I found one of these little Centro knitting machines, the 22 pin kind, at the thrift store for $3.99, which was a really exciting find for me. When I got home, I realized it was missing this tension piece, but luckily I already have the larger size Centro machine, and they use the same piece. So I can just pop this one in and out. It's not permanent on either one. It just kind of snaps into place, and it's the exact same one. So it worked out perfectly for me. I had a fun afternoon kind of experimenting with it. I did have to fully take it apart and kind of clean the pieces and oil it because it was a little clunky when I tried to use it straight from the thrift store. And I imagine that's why somebody donated it, because it was just not peak performance and they didn't know how to maintain it. But I've had issues with my big machine in the past getting kind of clunky and lagging and sticking, and I have sewing machine oil, and I've already used it to repair mine in the past. So this one I actually ended up taking fully apart, which I didn't mean to do, and then I had a little project on my hands to piece it back together, but I got it back together and working just fine, and it works better now, and it's all well oiled, and it works. And I mean, it was $3.99. I think these retail for like $30 or $40, so it's a pretty good deal. And in my little experimenting, I just made a little headband. So I made it up. This is not a pattern or anything. This is the size tube that it makes, which might work for a hand warmer actually. I did kind of stick my hand through one when I first took it off the machine, and it would work for some hand warmers, even though you'd have to do something for the thumb manually, I think. But it wasn't quite enough to be a headband. It kind of looked like like a headband to hold your hair back, like a fashion one, but not like an ear warmer one. So I used this yarn. I don't remember what kind of yarn it is. Okay, this was a single ball of yarn. I had Lana Grossa Mary's tweed, and it's quite a blend. It's alpaca, wool, polyamide, and silk blend. I had this one 50-gram ball. It's colorway 14. It's this sort of tweedy gray. This is all that's left from the ball. And I was just having fun experimenting. So I made the first tube, which is about headband length, and then I counted the amount of rounds that I had done on that first piece, and I did another one. It actually happened to be exactly 100, which was kind of cool and easy to remember. And then I did another one of 100, and that used up basically all the wool. So I just kind of joined them in this weird way where you can sort of rearrange them, and it looks kind of crisscrossed on top of your head when you're wearing it, but they're basically just sewn one inside of the other, except I flip-flop the ends. I don't know how to explain it. See, whatever. It'll function as an ear warmer in the winter. It's a nice option to have, and I thought I was being a little creative by doing this crisscrossy thing with it. So I was just having fun experimenting with my little find. To be honest, I don't know how many functional things I would be able to make with it. The only thing that I've envisioned that I think might be fun is to do a sort of like, what is it called? Like a paper chain style, like Christmas garland, or I guess you could do any holiday. But because these are so narrow, you could just do these like little bits and sew the ends together and make up like a paper chain, like interlinked chain of different, I have all sorts of acrylic yarn in all sorts of colors. So I think it would be cute to do like a little red and green one, or red and white or whatever for the holidays. But I'm kind of at a loss otherwise for what to do with tubes this width. There's not that many projects you can make, but it was at a thrift store. It was super cheap, and it's another fun gadget to add to my collection. So I'm not upset about it. Quite early in the month, when I had kind of tapered off on my knitting and I wasn't really keeping up with it and was kind of losing my mojo because I had no energy, I thought I really want to crochet something, and probably a shawl. I love to crochet shawls. I love to less than I like to knit them, I think. I really like to crochet them. Most of the shawls I have are crocheted. A lot of them designed by Toni Lipsey, just because she's designed so many pretty crochet shawls. And my house was really cold this week. I've been working from home, and as I was sitting at my work computer working from home, I was using a shawl that she had made. My gosh, I can't even remember what the pattern is. I think it's the Bronwyn Shawl. I made it a long time ago. I made it at a much larger gauge, so it's enormous, but that was kind of my little blanket in the house while I was working at my laptop. And I thought, you know what, why don't I make another one of these? I'm enjoying this one right now. It has a 3-color motif. Let me just go through my stash. I think it'll give me a little boost to go stash diving and pick out some pretty yarns and just make a shawl. So I did. I finished this one a few weeks ago, but I never woven the ends or blocked it. So bear with me. I did a weird combo, and I think it turned out pretty good. I love it. All right. So this white texture is a slub yarn from Emma's Yarn. I bought 2 skeins of it when I went to the home location of Emma's Yarn, which is in Winter Haven, Florida, I believe. 4 Pearls Yarn Shop, which is one of my favorite yarn stores I've ever been to. It's really fun. It's really big. They have a great selection, and they have truly hundreds of colorways of Emma's Yarn. So it's really inspiring and fun to walk through. But I got 2 skeins of this. So as you can see, it's like a fingering weight zigzag, or what is it called? Spiral spun yarn with these great big slubs in it. This is fingering weight. This pattern, the Bronwyn Shawl, is for a sport weight. So I kind of had to fudge some stuff, but it's a shawl. It doesn't really matter if it comes out 100% to gauge, because you just kind of go until it's the right size. So this sort of golden color at the end is, I can't remember, from Malabrigo Arroyo, and it's the colorway Glitter, which I don't understand because this colorway is like the last colorway on earth that reminds me of glitter, but that's what it's called. And this is actually the suggested yarn for the pattern, Malabrigo Arroyo. But I only had this one skein of it. I think it came in some sort of kit or something years ago. I'm showing you the backside. I'm sorry. It goes this way. So I chose to use that one at the end. This is the end you start at, and you make this solid triangle, and then you start striping it in. I think it is fun, this sort of like popcorn texture that the slubby yarn makes. And then I did hold the slub yarn double to try to get closer to the right gauge. So it's quite dense in those parts. And then once I got here and started with the next contrast color, this is also held double. This is a Dreamin' Color Smooshy Cashmere base. This was a special colorway from my local yarn store when they had an anniversary Knitty Fix. They have these curated boxes that they sell that are called Knitty Fixes, where you get some yarn and like goodies and notions and things. It's a fun little surprise gift to unwrap. And they had this custom colorway in it when they did their 5th anniversary, I think it was, a few years ago. So it was called Forged Candy, but it was a special colorway. And I had one mini and one full skein of it. I don't remember why there was a mini of the same color in there, but there was. So I had 120 grams of it. So I held it double here. I think I have a little left, so I can show you. It's really, really very pretty. So many jewel tones, a lot of variation. The mini skein was actually drastically darker overall than the full-size skein. Because I was holding it double and because it's a sort of stripy motif, it's not really a problem, but I think you can probably see it here. I used the mini, holding one strand of the mini with one strand from the full skein, and the first 4 stripes here are using that really, really dark mini skein, held double. And then once you switch to holding 2 of the main skein double, I think you can see here that it gets a lot lighter. But the nature of this shawl is this sort of like color blocked shifting, and I think it works really well and doesn't bother me in the slightest. I can't wait to block this because it is a little dense on this side, but I think it's going to open up really, really well. And then the only modification I actually made to this, other than just stopping when I ran out of yarn for the contrast color 2, because I think you're supposed to do more stripes of this, but I didn't have any more. You're supposed to do a much thicker section of this main color at the edge. And I think it's like 5 or 6 2-row repeats or something like that. And I ended up doing like 2 or 3. And the reason I did that is because I think this particular stitch pattern, this texture, is kind of wasting this Emma's Slubby yarn. It looks like boucle. I like it. It's not a bad thing, but it was kind of a pain to crochet. I wasn't having fun anymore. And this had been a dopamine project. And I thought, you know, I still have a ton of this Emma's yarn left. I thought I would use way more of it in this, and I really haven't. I might as well save what I have left, use it for something else. And this is fine. There's nothing wrong with this. This was supposed to be a dopamine project. I'm not getting enjoyment out of it anymore. I don't really want to work on it anymore. Guess what? It's done. And that's how it works, right? It's my crochet and I can do what I want to. And I got a ton of joy out of it during the rest of the process. And I love it. Because the weather quite warmed up, I haven't woven my ends in or blocked it yet. Like I said, blocking kind of takes up too much space right now. So I haven't been able to block anything, but I really love how it came out. I'm proud of that one. It served its purpose. It made me happy when I needed a little sunshine. And then I moved on to another crochet project. So you might recall it was December because it was during Vlogmas. I went to an antique store when I was on a work trip, and I found it was for like $2 or $3 or something. This says $1.99 each from Goodwill, but I wasn't at Goodwill. I was at an antique mall, and there was 3 balls of this bundled together in a bag, and I think it was $2 or $3. And this is like from the 70s. It's cotton branded, like the cotton industry brand, softball yarn. And it is a spiral spun yarn. with this sort of pastel palette. Really pretty. It's very soft. And each of these little boxes, which I think are cute in their own right, just this like vintage yarn package. Each of these had a 100-gram ball of this cotton soft pastel. At one point, I had been brainstorming what to do with this yarn, and I had gone through on Ravelry and done a search specifically for this yarn weight, which I think is a worsted. And I thought I want to do a crochet project out of this, and it's cotton, so I specifically put in cotton in the Ravelry search and had the yardage that I had entered so that I would only see projects that would really suit it. And what I came across was a market bag, and I thought that's perfect because it's kind of a thick yarn to make a garment out of, because I don't have, it's worsted, right? I don't have that much of it to be able to make a garment, and if I do, it'll be kind of heavy, and there's not really a reason to wear a worsted weight cotton garment most of the time. That's a little thick for a cotton garment. It's gonna be so heavy. So a market bag is perfect. So I had saved to my Ravelry queue this pattern for a bag. I don't remember what it's called. Oh my gosh, forgive me. Oh, you know what? It was Fleur, because it's got flowers on it. It's a Fleur Market Bag. And I thought it was so cute, and I saved it to my queue, and a viewer purchased it for me as a gift. So thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you're not familiar, you can buy people gifts patterns on Ravelry. So if you go into my queue or my wish list on Ravelry, you can see the patterns that I have liked, that I would like to get. I think oftentimes the patterns that are in my queue that I plan to make sooner rather than later, I haven't purchased yet. So that's a great way to not only support my channel, but support the pattern designer that put out the pattern. So if you're interested, no pressure. That's a really helpful way to support the channel. And that's what happened here. So somebody gifted me this, and I was kind of in the middle of my tumultuous time at home, and I thought, you know what, actually that does sound really fun to just make a market bag. And I made this in less than 24 hours, and it was so enjoyable. So here we go. My Fleur Market Bag. I love it. I like the way that this yarn worked up, the color pooling, because I guess because it's not really pooling, right? That's what I like about it. It looks rather tie-dyed. It's pretty variegated. I guess you can see better on this base here. So it's a really lacy open pattern, as you can see. Super simple to follow. I basically memorized the pattern without meaning to. I'm not even done with whips. Like, I'm all over the place. I still have one more whip. I guess I'm doing it chronologically. In my head, I started with the older projects that I had been working on at the beginning, and then I went into the things that I cast on and finished, and now I'm gonna last talk about the thing that I cast on and haven't finished yet. This is all over the place. Anyway, I think it's really pretty. This is for me. This gave me a lot of joy, and it's super soft, and it worked up so quick that, you know, I was like, I want to make another one. I have a history of doing this, of really enjoying a pattern and immediately casting on another version of it. And especially this one, less than a day. I thought, you know what if I find something in stash that will work and I can make one for my mom. So Mom, don't look. I should have had more of a spoiler on that. I don't think she watches regular podcasts, but if you are, Mom, don't look and pretend you didn't hear this come Mother's Day. So I went into my stash and I found I had a ball and a half of Lion Brand Touch of Linen, because I had made a top for myself out of this yarn, I think last year or the year before. So I just made another one. And the stitch definition on this one is much better. You can see it's a smaller gauge. This one I used the recommended hook size. The other one, because that yarn was a little thicker with that spiral spun zigzag texture, I went up a half millimeter. I think it called for 4 millimeter, and I used 4.5 on the first one, so I used 4 on this one because this is a slightly finer yarn. I think it is still considered a worsted. This is the colorway Quill, by the way. Yeah, it's still considered a number 4 worsted, but I think it's a light worsted. Anyway, I like the stitch definition. I think it came out really nice. It's a good color for my mom. She's a purple person. You know how purple people are. They love it. So this is a more muted purple, but I think she'll still enjoy it, and it's a useful item. And I will, I'll kind of use it to wrap up her other Mother's Day gift that I purchased for her. So it's a nice little bundle. So yeah, those crochet projects kind of came through and brought me some joy when I was kind of stuck on my knitting for a little bit. But I came back. I had been working on knitting for getting back into it, and we're mostly working on that Fungus cardigan. I have done some work also on the black cardigan that I'm making, by Lily Kate France. I can't remember what the cardigan's called. I can't remember what the pattern's called, but I remember it's by Lily Kate France, and I'm making it out of black yarn held with black mohair, and it is the most boring thing I've ever knit in my life, and I think it's going to be the most useful finished object when it's done, because I don't have a black cardigan, but I am so over it, and I'm actually at the end of the ribbing, and I just have to do a bind off on it, and I kind of don't want to. Maybe I'll skip the tubular bind off, because I don't think it'll even show in the black yarn. You won't even be able to see the detail of it. Well, I'll see what I think at the time, but I'm so unmotivated to work on that one. I'm not even showing you because it never really looks different. It just looks longer, and it's a black blob covered in pet hair, and I don't want to, and I don't want to. So I'll show you in the future when there's more progress on it. But for now, it doesn't really look any different. So the other project that I have, I cast this on last week. I just wanted to cast on. I just finally got to the point where I was like, I need something new. I want to work on a warm weather project. We've had a couple warm weather days, and I really want to work on a summer top. I had pulled out that Moonset tee and been working on that intermittently, which is great, but it is just endless stockinette in the round, and I thought I want to work on something a little more involved, just a little. And I went to my queue because I'm pretty good about planning projects and coming up with ideas for projects. And I had saved to my queue a pattern that I had seen that I thought was really cute. And it is the Summer Slipover. And I went and looked in my stash. I hadn't even picked out yarn to use with this pattern. I just thought it was so cute. I definitely want to make that this season. And I had the perfect yarn. So last fall, I went to a yarn store that was going out of business. It's not a local yarn store to me, but it was in my hometown, and it went out of business last fall. But October I stopped in. They had a good sale on what inventory they had left, but there really wasn't any garment quantities left. The largest quantity I could find of a yarn color and fiber mix that I thought I would actually use was 3 skeins of this Sueño by Haiku, and it's the colorway Sage. It's 80% merino. It's a superwash merino, and 20% viscose from bamboo. So it's like this really smooth, pretty. Let me show you the cake. Oops, there's a fluffy. So it's this really pretty, cool, muted green. And I had 3 cakes of this DK weight. So I knew whatever I had to make would be pretty small because I only had 3 skeins. And it ended up being perfect for the summer slipover. It's the exact quantity and size yarn that I need. And I just jumped right in because it seemed so serendipitous that I just had this quantity sitting in stash, and I happened to pick this pattern that would use this quantity. So I'm nearly halfway through. It's going to curl up on me, so it's hard for you to see. But it's in a broken rib stitch, so it's super scrunched in on itself. This one, it looks so narrow. This couldn't possibly fit someone my size, but I know it's just gonna, oh no, don't do that, baby. Oh, she pulled out a stitch. You're being a problem. Anyway, even though it looks really narrow, this stitch pattern, look how much it stretches. Right? So once I block it, it'll be somewhere in between there and it'll open up. It also just kind of looks like rib from where you are, but you can't see the broken pattern. If you look at the back side, you can see this texture. And I think once it's blocked, it'll open up a ton. You can see there's a little bit of shaping here. So this is the back panel. and I'm working up to the neckline, and then I'll, you know, cast or bind off some in the middle and split and go over the shoulders and then rejoin. And this is one of those slipovers that's tied under the arms, and I'm pretty sure you just make the I-cords separately and attach them, so I can use my little I-cord machine. And yeah, I'm enjoying this one a lot. I think it's going to be really cute, and it's been just involved enough that it's not boring, mindless stockinette, but also super easy and potato chippy to keep going, because the broken rib pattern is the wrong side is 1x1 rib, and then the right side is just knitting. So it's always like, well, I want to do the knit row, and then I might as well do the 1x1 row to get back to a point where I'll be happy to pick it up again. And then, like, now I'm back at the beginning of the row. I just want to do the knit row again, and I kind of keep going in this cycle. So it's been fun. I'm enjoying it, and yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm kind of in that limbo between cold weather knits. I want to finish up the ones that I have going without casting on a ton of warm weather stuff. I'm also really, really keen to cast on a Midland cardigan. It's one of those things that the entire time Laura Penrose had it in development, which was a long time. She was sitting on that one for like over a year after she had shown her sample online. It's one that I've wanted to do, and I bought the pattern the weekend it came out, and I'm really excited to do it, but I've got like 3 cardigans in the works right now, and I just, why are you so interested all of a sudden? I think I have 3 knit cardigans on the go right now. It seems excessive to come out with, to cast on a 4th cardigan before I have finished the ones that I already have going. Plus I have Josh's sweater going. I want to wrap up some projects before I get into it again. Stop it. So before I start a new large project, I want to wrap up some stuff, but it's kind of slow going. So, and I'm also trying to be gentle and take it easy on myself and let myself cast things on when I want to, because I'm in a kind of tough spot in life. But I don't want to make it tougher for myself by casting on too many things and then being overrun with projects, I guess. So it's a tricky spot for me mentally, but I'm not unhappy with where I'm at. I'm just slogging through the projects I've already got. I do have a couple more things to show you because I have some thrift finds. I went to an estate sale last weekend, and incidentally, the same day, my mom was at an antique mall that I had never been to, and she was texting me some pictures of things that she thought I might like. So first I'll just show you the thing I told my mom I would like that I could see in the pictures was these 2 cards that have a lot of vintage lace on them. I don't sew that often. I collect sewing materials and notions more than I actually sew, but when there's a good opportunity like this, these were each $3, and they're really large quantities of lace, and I just thought it was a good opportunity, and I like them. So I asked her to pick them up for me, and she did. Thanks, Mom. And then I also picked up a few things for myself at the estate sale. The photos that I saw online of the estate sale made it look like it had more craft stuff. It did have a bunch, but this person was particularly into like millinery. So there was a lot of silk flowers and like pins and things more of that nature. There was a lot less sewing, and I didn't see any knitting at all. But I did get this case full of metal bobbins. I do have a case like this already full of plastic ones, but it can't hurt to have more, and I think the metal ones will last longer than the plastic ones anyway. So it was $1. It was a good opportunity. I found this antique book. It's absolutely falling apart. I forget what year, but it's from, I think, the 1920s or 30s. And I mean, when I say it's falling apart, I mean chunks of the pages are falling out. It's really coming apart. And I want it more for decor than for use anyway. I'm not likely to make a dress from like extant materials like this, but it was pretty. And also it was, I think, $2 at this estate sale. I did end up getting some other things. This isn't all I brought, but I'm not showing the like houseware stuff that I brought home, the home decor stuff. I'm just showing you the craft things. I found this set of 3 buttons. They're so stinking cute. These are like little metal bows. They are shank buttons. I don't know if you can see. There were 3 of them. They were in a little 25-cent bin. So this was 75 cents for these. And I have no idea what I would possibly use them on. I don't even know if it's a good idea to put them on clothes because they might discolor it. But I just thought they were so cute. I've never seen anything like them. So I had to pick those up. Also, bows are so popular right now, you know. And then just this cut of quilting cotton, probably from Joann or something. But nice Christmas tartan that I'll probably make some pillows or tablecloth or something out of come Christmas time. It just seemed like a good opportunity, you know, to pick up some sewing supplies for really inexpensive. So there you have it. That's in a very confusing order, everything you missed. And I think we're all caught up now. So I'm going to keep plugging away at the knitting projects that I have going. Maybe next time I'll be at a state where I'm comfortable having cast on a new project and we can talk about some new stuff. But I'm hoping to be back to my bi-weekly schedule that I have barely stuck to, but in my head are always considering those deadlines. So I hope to see you in 2 weeks with some updates and hopefully some finished objects. And yeah, there we have it. So thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're interested and check out some of my other videos. And I can't wait to see you in the next one. If you're here for the end of the video club, I genuinely don't remember if I had any entries since last time. I apologize if you sent something in. I've had a lot going on and I kind of lost track, but I hope to get back to the swing of things and have a regular club meeting next video. So please send in your projects, some pictures or descriptions of what you're working on while you watch the podcast. And I want to feature some in the end of my next video for our end of the video club segment. So thanks for really watching to the end. And I appreciate you guys all the time, but especially right now. So thanks. See you next time. Bye.